Welcome back to Rapid Coding series on last moment preparation. In today's video, we are going to learn about for loop in Java, how it works, and a quick example of how to use it. So let's dive in. As you can see, I have mentioned the syntax of for loop over here in comment. I've used multi-line comment here just for reference. Now, as you can see, the syntax of for loop is quite simple. We have the keyword for followed by round brackets which enclose the three important components of for loop, which are initialization, condition, and increment or decrement rule, which are all separated by semicolon. Now let's discuss each of them. That is initialization. This is where we initialize a variable that will be used in the loop. This part runs only once at the start of the loop. Then we have our condition. This condition is checked before each iteration of the loop. If it's true, the loop continues. If it is false, then the loop simply stops. Then lastly, we have increment or decrement. After each iteration, it is necessary to update the variable that we are using in the condition, right? So to make the loop effective and to make it terminate whenever it is desired. So after each iteration, this part will run to update the variable. Now let's see an example. This example is a simple one where we are using a for loop to print numbers from 1 to 5. So let's say I'll introduce a variable I which will start from 1. Then I'll say go till I is less than equal to 5, and I will say I plus plus after each iteration. Then what I can do is system.out.println, and I'll just say I. So what will happen is this loop will run 5 times, and each time the output of I is going to get printed. So let's switch to our terminal and let's say java c e7 underscore for loop dot java. Okay, it has no errors. I'll say just for loop. Okay, as you can see, it has worked. Okay, so let's now break down this example into three components that we had discussed earlier. So if you see I is equal to 1 is the initialization, meaning we are starting from 1. Then we have our condition, which was I is less than equal to 5. So the loop will run as long as I is less than or equal to 5. Then we have increment, which is increasing the value of I by 1 after each loop iteration. So the output will be 1, 2, then 3, 4, and 5. After 5, the value of I is going to be 6, which will make our condition, which is I should be less than equal to 5, false, and hence the loop will terminate, and there is nothing to execute after our loop, so the entire program is going to terminate. Now, let us have a look at another example well, where we will deal with array using a loop. So let's say I'll create an array named numbers is equal to, and I'll say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay, I guess this is enough. Now, if I want to iterate through an array, then we know that the index always starts from 0, so I need to change our condition to I is equal to 0. Then, when to stop? Now, every array has a property dot length. So if I access this property, I'm going to know the length of array. And now we know that since our index starts from 0, the last index is always going to be length minus 1. So I need not be actually equal to numbers.length, but it should stop one step before reaching the length, because it is going to start from 0 to n minus 1. So maybe I should make you visualize it over here. So the elements start from 1 to n, but since you're aware that 1 is mapped to 0 index and so on, the last element is going to be at n minus 1th index. So this is a common thing that we need to remember when we deal with arrays. So I should be less than numbers dot length. Now what I can do is, instead of printing I will say print the ith element of the array. Okay. So just a recap of what we have done so far. I have declared initialized an array named numbers which contains the elements. Again, I have missed a semicolon here, so let me correct it. The name of array is numbers and it contains elements 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. Now for the for loop, I have initialized the variable I and set its value to be 0, which will traverse my first element of the array. Then I'll take it till I is less than numbers dot length, which will be the last index of my array, and I'm incrementing I each time by 1. Then I'm printing the ith index of numbers. So wherever I will be in the execution of this for loop, that ith element will get printed. Now let's compile and run this again. So I'll say Java C, which will compile my program and I'll again execute it. So if you see, it is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. So all elements of our array got printed. So just to recap, initialization happens only once at the beginning. Then we have condition which is checked for every iteration. For example, here we are checking if I is less than numbers dot length. And lastly, we have increment or decrement rule which updates the loop variable after every iteration. The for loop is efficient for situations where you exactly know how many times you want to repeat a block of code. And that's the basics of the for loop in Java. In next video, we will dive into more loop concepts, so stay tuned. If you found this video helpful, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to Last Moment Preparation for more quick coding tutorials. See you in the next one. Thank you.